Happy Friday, everybody. I'm KHOU 11 meteorologist Tim Pandages here with your Atlantic Tropical Update on August the 12th, 2022. Nothing named out there in the basin right now, not even any areas tagged as an investigative area either, but there is something brewing in the Gulf of Mexico that I want to bring to your attention. So do you remember earlier this week, if you live along the Gulf Coast, Texas, Louisiana, or out in Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, there was a front that dropped its way on through. All along it, we saw beneficial rainfall through most of the area. Now, that front has dropped its way to the south, but not too far south. It's hanging out in the northern Gulf of Mexico. And anytime we get a trailing cold front into the northern Gulf of Mexico, this time of year, it tends to need to be monitored a little bit more closely. Why? That tail end of the front tends to agitate some spin in the atmosphere. And if that spin can take advantage of what is overall very conducive environmental conditions, we could easily see tropical development as a result. Now check this out. As I switch things up, what I just showed you there is the infrared imagery, right? So we look at this for the cloud top temperatures, how strong the convection is. The colder the cloud tops, the stronger the convection. We've got some pretty strong thunderstorms out to the south, not really with the overall circulation. That's really just along the front. But if you look closely, like right near Plaquemines Parish in Louisiana, southern Louisiana coastal areas, Terrebonne, starting to get a little bit more of a spin. It's a little more evident as I switch things up here on visible satellite, and you look at it play out in the loop. Definitely some broad spin here, but what's also evident on the visible satellite is there is some shear coming in from the northeast. You can see the low-level clouds a little more obvious here. Higher-level clouds associated with the convection, mostly offshore at the moment. However, this shear will not be present for the entirety of this journey as it moves its way off to the west-southwest. So this Gulf wave, if it was to get tagged as an invest, by the way, it'd be invest 98L, because remember we were talking about 97 earlier this week. If development was to occur, it will be slow. Now, environmental conditions, despite the shear now, will become more optimal in this area of the Gulf going forward in the next 36, 48 hours. More models are coming on board with this system, trying to get its act together modestly as it heads towards the South Texas coastline Saturday night, Sunday morning. So Hurricane Center has said, we acknowledge this, we're looking at it, but the chances, although not zero, are not all that high either. 10% chance within 2 days, which is all we need because it's going to be onshore within 2 days. 10% within 5 days as well, as it gradually moves off to the west-southwest. Now, its movement is going to be driven or guided by an area of high pressure to the north, pushing it aloft off to the west-southwest. Notice the models here. This is one of our in-house computer models showing the development here, the spin, and then just before it moves on land, notice that surge of moisture as it takes advantage of those atmospheric conditions and maybe boosts its strength to a tropical depression, maybe a low-end tropical storm. The next name on the list is Danielle. Not outside of the realm of possibility. We've seen it happen before, and then it moves inland, bringing very beneficial rainfall. So we need storm ingredients for a tropical system to develop. Warm ocean waters is a key factor in all of that. 80 degrees or warmer. Certainly have that. 85 degree Fahrenheit is the average temperature of the sea surface waters in this part of the Gulf of Mexico. All season long, the Gulf of Mexico has been running well above average. So we have that. We check that box. We also need something that every other system this season has been lacking. Moist air. Dry air has been plaguing any systems from trying to develop. Not the case this time. We've got a very moist atmospheric profile in place in this part of the Gulf of Mexico too. And then wind shear. Now, wind shear, if it was in play, well, it is now currently with the system. You saw what it's doing. It's tilting it. It's making it lopsided. Going forward, there's not expected to be much wind shear, low wind shear, if anything, in this part of the Gulf of Mexico too, as that system is building off to the west. And finally, upper-level winds are supportive of development here. We've got something aloft that we call an upper-level anticyclone, an area of high pressure. And what that means is the winds aloft are moving apart or diverging. We've got convergence at the surface with the surface low, potential tropical low, rising and then diverging aloft. So with this in place, even though it looks rather weak on modeling here, it's still present and it will aid in its potential development. Regardless of development, beneficial rain on the way for South Texas. Some totals here could approach 4, 5, 6 inches. Look at the drought report that came out this week. Exceptional drought, highest tier severity in the area in maroon here. red shading, extreme drought. Looks like this area will benefit most from the incoming rain from this system. So that's the latest on that. We'll give you another update if, in fact, the chances are up for development or if it really starts to get its act together and gets tagged as an invest or even a tropical depression at some point within the next 36 hours. Until then, you can find me on all social media. I'm on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. Enjoy your weekend.